First of all, thank you so much for joining me this morning on our little podcast here.
Thanks, Mike.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Great to be here.
So we are on the 26th of March today. We are sort of in the midst of this tumultuous crisis with coronavirus that came back on the back of other crises that just happened to happen on top of a stock market crash, etc. In other words, a lot of people's lives have been turned upside down. On the other hand, we need to start the rebuild, as far as I'm concerned, today. What are some of the trends that you see? Where do you see that what industries have a really great chance of, if they do it well, coming out of this crisis better, stronger, faster than they were before?
Wow, that's a good question. Look, from my perspective, I think, first of all, taking this at a macro level, and then I'll bring it back into a individual business level. I think what this coronavirus crisis has taught us more than anything else is that a lot of our existing societal structures and the way we've done things for a long, long time is not sustainable and won't stand up to what's potentially going to happen in the future. And I think this COVID-19 crisis has shown us that if it's not machine automation, it's something else that can put at threat those societal structures. And right now, in particular, I'm thinking about both our education system and our healthcare system. They're the two obvious ones. And there's a lot of opportunity in and around reimagining both of those things. But bringing it down to another level, I think there is a tremendous opportunity right now to re-look at what type of businesses are really the important businesses to invest in the future. And I think those businesses are ones that have business models that essentially are required at times like this, where the extraordinary happens, but also those that are recession-proof and those that can continue to operate regardless of the operating environment. So those businesses essentially are tech businesses, businesses that are easily translatable online, businesses that, disrupt existing models, such as, places where people go and mix in large groups. So, community-based models like clinics and gyms and saunas and, all those types of things. And so while this is catastrophic on one level, I think it's highlighted a rethink of a lot of different business models and the types of businesses that will be valuable and emerge coming out of this. And I can think of a few off the top of my head. So marketplace businesses, I think, are tremendously valuable. They provide an additional income stream in times like this for traditional business owners, but also provide an ability for people in situations like this to be able to do things a little differently. And an example of that is a business that I coach an entrepreneur for, called Vets on Call, where they're essentially, bringing the vet clinic to your home. And it's providing an opportunity for existing veterinarians to, augment their income streams, but also provides the ability for a vet to come to your home in times like this when it's, harder to get to the vet clinic yourself. These are the types of business models we need to reimagine. Right. Education business models, I think, is another real area that is ripe for disruption, and we've seen highlighted with this. And by that, I'm not just talking about layering point solutions on top of our existing education system. I'm talking about solutions that can completely disrupt the way education is done. Because if there's one thing that has become obvious to me, at least through this entire situation, it's that our current education system is essentially a babysitting service for children until they are productive.
Yes.
How do we reimagine that? How do we engage both parents into the education of their children? How do we remove the borders of schools? How do we repurpose schools? And what are those business models for schools moving forward that move them out of this mode of being just a babysitting service to actually being meaningful to them and almost being a community hub for learning as opposed to a place to send your children to get educated. And I think there's a huge paradigm shift that can occur there and a wealth of opportunity for businesses in that space.
Yeah.
Healthcare is another sector. The medtech sector has been something that has slowly taken off, but I think the highlight of this pandemic is that we need more machine learning and AI-based solutions in the healthcare space, particularly in the health administration space. And I see that as a huge opportunity moving forward, particularly machine-type learning solutions that can assist with policy and decision-making around healthcare, being able to get resources to where they're required in a timely fashion based on data-made decisions as opposed to poking, throwing darts on a board and going, well, let's send this here, that there, testing kits there. Let's spread these masks over the country evenly when a machine learning algorithm could easily tell us based on the current spread and movement of a virus like this is where you need the concentration of that equipment. So I think there's a huge opportunity around that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just some of the spaces. I think food supply chains are ripe for disruption. I think we need new business models around food supply chains. I think ag tech.
Toilet roll supply chain perhaps as well.
I'm sorry, the toilet roll supply chain for sure. I actually think we are in the midst of a toilet paper conspiracy. And the toilet paper companies, if there's any conspiracy that's come out of this entire COVID-19 thing, it's the toilet paper companies have been behind it.